Buzzard Gulch Milling Company. This is the sawmill that my grandfather's family owned and worked at while he was growing up as a young boy. This sawmill company was located in Edneyville, North Carolina, which is a small community near Hendersonville, North Carolina. While I was talking to my grandfather about the sawmill and his time there when he was a young boy, he told me that he remembered many days working there and even having to miss school so that he could work at the sawmill and help his dad and brothers. My grandfather was growing up and working at this sawmill around the 1950s and 1960s. This was a much simpler time. My grandfather grew up in a home with 8 children. They had a lot of responsibilities, and especially with their family owning the sawmill, they had their work cut out for them. This sawmill was really important in the Edneyville community. A lot of the lumber that they manufactured there was able to be used in the surrounding areas, and some people even used it in building their houses. At the sawmill, they would start with huge logs and be able to cut them into lumber that people could use. Working at this sawmill was by no means an easy task. My grandfather remembers many days spending time from sunup till sundown working at this sawmill. The culture was a lot different during this time. The women in my grandfather's family stayed in the house and learned skills of cooking and cleaning, while the boys had to spend time outside at this sawmill. However, for anyone in the family, school was definitely not a priority. The school was located just right around the corner within walking distance from their house. But during this time, it was so important for everyone in the family to be working to help earn money, and they didn't have time to send the kids to school, so often they would have to stay home and help work. During this time in history, the Vietnam War was going on. My grandfather and his brothers were concerned about the draft. My grandfather was drafted into the Army to serve during the time of the Vietnam War. He wasn't ready for that, and neither was his family. They needed him to be working at the sawmill. My grandfather served his time during the Vietnam War and ended up getting out because he was wounded. My grandfather finally ended up back in Edneyville. He had to spend a lot of time going through different hospitals and receiving a lot of treatment, but he finally made his way back to Edneyville and the sawmill. After coming back, my grandfather met my grandmother, and they ended up having 3 children. My mom, her brother, and her sister remember growing up and spending time at the sawmill as well. For my family, this sawmill wasn't just a place. For my grandfather, his siblings, his parents, it was their way of life. It was how they were able to survive. For us now, the sawmill isn't there anymore. It's been torn down. Now all we have left are the memories. But this place will always hold a special place for all of my family.